Hey guys, it's quote unquote your boy, Ballface8020, back with another great response video. Um, this video I wanted to talk about female dating strategy, subreddit that is surprisingly growing in popularity. It's a pink pilled, which I can't say exactly what pink pilled means because it would get me in trouble with YouTube. But it's a pink pilled for women only uh, forum. And the idea is it says female dating strategy. It's about how to get a high value male to commit to you. So for female dating strategy, they'll use this term high value male, or they'll just say HVM, and they'll also say high value woman, which is HVW, and then same with low value male is LVM, and they'll rarely say low value woman, but they do say it. So a high value male, technically, according to their definition, I haven't read it, but this is what somebody else told me. Technically, according to their definition, it's more of a moral thing than when they say high value male, they don't mean Chad necessarily. High value male means a man who takes care of himself, who has a good career, who will commit to you and who will treat you well and who will remain faithful. Okay. So the idea of FDS, female dating strategy, is to get one of these guys. Now, the problem with I dismissed this forum. I was calling it ridiculous and stuff like that, and to a large extent it is. You saw it on my last video, me talking about how much it sucks, and I even mentioned it as an example of the entitlement mentality that women have. Not that men don't have problems with entitlement too, but it's just this video is definitely not going to be about bashing women. This is maybe a little bit bashing female dating strategy, but that's it. But anyway, the thing actually here, I'm going to say something positive about it because I've been reading it for a while now, and it actually kind of mirrors my experience on the incel board. Initially I had thought of incels like just what normies thought of them, that they were just neckbeard guys who didn't want to help themselves and stuff like that, and again with massive entitlement issues. And then after reading incel boards, I've seen that that's not really the case. And then this is kind of I expected this one to just be all about how they can't get chat or something like that, and there is a lot of that there. And so I'm not saying that this is a good forum, and I don't think that they're very realistic a lot of the time, but if after reading a lot of it, I do think that there is some good advice on it for women, and I do think that it really is helping someone. And I don't think it's nearly as toxic as MGTOW boards or even the good incel board, which is short cells is the good incel board, if there's such a thing, and the bad incel boards are everything else. But anyway, even honestly, even short cells, which I like, there's a lot of toxicity. So I would say there's less toxicity on FDS than there is in short cells, so anyway, but now, which again, I'm not saying that there isn't a lot of toxicity on FDS, but anyway, there is some good advice. And one thing that they, because basically with female dating strategy is not complicated. The strategy is basically it comes down to, if the guy is not treating you well or he won't commit, leave him. Pretty basic stuff. It's sad that so many women need to be told this, but at the same time, just like how MGTOWs are only telling you half the story, saying, well, women are, so tough to deal with, so just don't bother with women. Well, it's not that easy because men are programmed to need a woman. Well, this is women are programmed to put up with a lot of shit from a guy who they're in love with. It's not so easy to just leave a guy who they've got feelings for, even if they logically shouldn't. But that's why I think this is kind of helpful, is because maybe it is kind of a smack in the face to some women. And my criticism of female dating strategy as a strategy is, they say like, because it goes unsaid. Like I said, the HVM thing is more of a moral thing than a physical thing. But we all know that what these women, they may, I believe them when they say they want a guy who treats them well and who will be a good father and a husband and is going to stay with them and all that. I believe that they want all that stuff, or they wouldn't be here, But even what they also want, and sometimes they themselves even say it, is a tall, good-looking guy. So here's the problem with that. There's nothing wrong with women wanting tall, good-looking guys. The problem is when women say they want a tall, good-looking guy who will be faithful, who will treat them well, who will commit, and who will continue to love them when their looks fade. That is going to be a tall order. There are guys like that. I know of relationships where women have found guys like that. So if there are any women watching, I'm not telling you to give up and that you won't find a guy like that. I'm just saying that statistically, the odds are not very good. Because only 50% of guys are tall. And as for how many of them are good looking, in my experience, women will compromise on the looks part to a point. I mean, if you're obviously if you're 6'4", you can be the elephant man. They won't care. But if you're just like, 5'11", 6 feet, 6'1", you better not look like Howard Stern. All right. You better. And so so there needs to be something in the looks department. And then you have on top of that, again, for a relationship, there needs to be personality compatible, and he earns money, and he's going to be faithful. And I mean, by the time we have all these things, you're talking about at most 20% of the male population. Well, okay, maybe at most a third. Nah, if he's going to be faithful, I'm going to have to say 20% tops. And I've gone back and forth with all different numbers. I've said, you just heard me say a third. I've heard also it be like, sometimes I've said 1%. But I think 20% is, and I do think I'm probably being a little generous when you compare. Now, they're tall, good-looking guys are certainly more than 20%. But tall, good-looking guys who earn good money and who will be faithful, that's going to be tougher. Again, 20% is probably the highest you're going to get. So you are competing with literally every other heterosexual woman for this top 20% of guys. It's probably not going to happen. I mean, statistically, it's probably not going to happen. And I don't think, adopting some bitchy female dating strategy is going to get you there. On the other hand, it might, if it's just like, I'm going to get with one of these top 20% guys, or I'm going to go alone, then at the very least, you could say female dating strategy is good enough to get you to sort of weed out guys. Like you're going with some fuck boy, but he's just wasting your time. Well, go after him, and then maybe you will find a faithful Chad. Dump the fuck boy, and then maybe you will find a good looking Chad. So the strategy isn't completely baseless. It's just more unrealistic in that they respond how likely it is. Because again, statistically, most of the quote unquote ruthless strategists on FDS are not going to be able to get these guys. And in fact, one very funny and black-pilled thing about this forum is that if you read their comments and their threads, it's just like they call themselves ruthless strategists. That's because they're but if you read their threads, it's all them complaining about how they're getting played by these guys who offer nothing except being tall and good looking, because tall and good looking guys can have those options that they can just, run through a whole bunch of women. They don't have to treat you well because, it's because for them, they've got abundance. Like if this is because, like a tall, good looking guy, a Chad can say to any woman, like, well, you're going to do everything on my terms or you're going to go without. And the truth is she needs him way more than he needs her because he's got an infinite options. And The it was somebody on, I think on, because I got banned from FDS for pointing just this out. As I said, I said like, because one girl was bragging. She said, look, like all these guys saying that we're going to be alone or we'll live at the wall or stuff like that. But, the reason that a lot of us don't even do online dating is because we're tired of getting bombarded with propositions, not just on online, but in person, day after day after day, of like all these guys. And it's like, I was saying, nobody doubts that you can sleep with a tall, good-looking guy, whenever you want. That's not in dispute. Well, the reason that, on short cells and I think other places as FDS gets bigger are mocking you is because you can't get these guys to commit to you. And you don't need to take my word for it. Just read your own damn threads. It's all this talk about like this is a site that tells you to dump fuckboys. Like, I mean, as if like really that's the only thing female dating strategy is dump fuckboys. And there's thread after thread about how they just can't do it. So it's just like, it's, so I mean, like I said, there may be some good advice here, but the overall user base is pretty pathetic. Because we're all slaves to our biology to a point. Hopefully, I mean, I do think it's possible to overcome bad biological instincts. It does seem like it's a little bit harder for women than for men, but men have problems with it too. But anyway, so I just wanted to do this. I mean, really, you could do almost any post could be like any thread on FDS could be video worthy. But I just wanted to give my thoughts on it, and this is a funny one here. So anyway, she does that whole like upper lowercase thing, which I hate. Just like saying like, why is it my role to try to impress females, blah, 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 equality. Okay, and then she says, imagine being such a defective male that you turn your back on millions of years of evolution and reproduction strategy. If they had this attitude in the wild, they'd never get laid because their inferior genes were never meant to be passed on. Let's just move on here, and then I'll make a comment later. One of the common denominators of courtship across the animal kingdom is that females allow themselves to not do anything, be picky as fuck, and let the male bend over backwards or even risk their lives in a fight in order to prove that they are the most worthy of their attention. Then even when they already have us, they keep defending their territory. This kind of behavior is male identity at its core. So all these passive clowns on Reddit who said they'd want to be approached and taken on dates because rejection is scary, well, might as well be women in my eyes. And though I don't condone unjustified violence among adults, I'd also be concerned if a man I was committed to did not at least adopt hostile body language if he saw another man show a bit too much interest in me. Even following FDS principles, male humans still have it among the easiest in the animal kingdom. Yet they still are constantly complaining that the average woman asks too much of them, even when all she wants is them to pay on dates. You know what? I'm going to go steal insults from the red pill and start calling them low testosterone soy boys. Okay. All right. Okay, first of all, let me say that human beings are not animals. Okay. There's I wouldn't project human behavior onto animals because there really is no comparison. There's just so much of a difference here. So second of all, let's talk about something. To be picky as fuck and let the male bend over backwards. I'll start from the top. One of the common denominators of courtship across the entire animal kingdom is that females allow themselves to not do anything. To be picky as fuck and let the male bend over backwards or even risk their lives in a fight in order to prove they're the most worthy of their attention. Then, even when they already have us, they keep defending their territory. Okay. All right. What happened in the animal kingdom? Yes, that is often true. It depends on the animal. What they like, I mean, for instance, lions, it will be something like as simple as driving off the rival male lions. But then, the reason that the harem that a male lion has sticks with him is not because the male lion has won them over. it's because they need him for protection, to protect the lion's territory and to protect the cubs. Only a male lion is strong enough to keep that area safe. So it's simply a matter of whichever male lion survives and has driven the other ones out. They're the ones who get the harem. It's not like the female hasn't picked him. It's just she simply needed him, or the females have simply needed him. And and then for birds, it would be something more like a bird. Like, well, again, it depends on the type of bird, but some birds you'll see what they'll do to attract a mate is build like a really nice nest, which would be more equivalent to kind of beta buxing, like what we do. But I mean, as I said, humans are not animals, and I think the thing that people are complaining about is that, or that don't like about her, or that she's not even recognizing, is that no, for humans, it's not necessary for a man to do anything because women will throw themselves at Chad. I mean, this is just a fact. They are going to, and I think that's really what she's addressed. She's frustrated that these guys won't do anything to impress her, but this kind of gets back to some black pill logic. It's because I'm sure this chick has a whole army of orbiters and simps who are breaking their necks to impress her. They are bending over backwards, like she says, to impress her, but she doesn't even notice them. All she notices is that Chad isn't doing that. And it's like, and then this is what I was talking about with entitlement. When they say, like, when you hear women complain, like, oh, men are impossible, men don't do this, men don't do that. It's like, but men do all those things you want. You're just mad because Chad isn't doing it. And it's like, sorry, I'm saying it's like a lot. And again, I want to be clear here. I'm not bashing women. You're attracted to what you're attracted to. I actually think it's totally understandable that women go after Chad. And also, I don't think it is all women. I don't care what anybody else says, but I think it's totally understandable that women go after Chad. What I don't like is when they seem to like expect so much. They complain about Chad not acting the way they want, and it's like and it just doesn't make sense for them to complain about it because they need Chad more than he needs them. So it's just like they just don't get it. They don't get it, and it causes, I think, a lot of frustration for them too. If they just understood that, like, if they don't need to, they're causing themselves unnecessary heartache. If they just accept it, like, okay, I only want Chad, but Chad is not going to treat me the way that I want to be treated. But, well, I guess that sucks for me then. It's just, you just kind of have to, at life, so you have to compromise on something. All right. You have to either compromise on, how you're going to be treated. Now, not necessarily. You might, like I said before, you might find a tall, good looking guy. I'm definitely not saying don't look. I'm definitely not saying give up. That's assuming any woman's even listening to this. I doubt. But there are tall, good looking guys who will be faithful out there, as I've said. But when you're going around with, for the most part, well, especially if you're younger and you're fucking around with Chad, he's got unlimited options, and it's not fair for you to expect him to make an effort to do that stuff because it's just he's the one with the leverage, not you. All right. So anyway, let's talk about she actually talked about some other stuff. So she says this kind of behavior is male identity at its core. So all these passive clowns on Reddit who say they'd want to be approached and taken on dates because rejection is scary, well, might as well be women in my eyes. And though I don't condone unjustified violence among civilized adults, I'd also be concerned if a man I was committed to did not at least adapt hostile body language if he saw another man show a bit too much interest in me. Well, at least she's being honest. I don't think that most women would necessarily like that. But another thing is that, like, if the guy who's showing a little too much interest in you is a lot bigger than your boyfriend, there's kind of a limited amount he can do. Like, adopting hostile body language is not going to do anything except him getting beaten up at worst or killed at best. I'm sorry, wait, just switch the best and the worst part. It's just not a good strategy. So there's a, and I mean, I kind of understand what she's saying, but I don't think that's necessarily not only that's necessarily what how most women feel. And if it is, they're going to be either disappointed or they're going to be have a lot of dead boyfriends. Like, I mean, seriously, come on. Like if you were like, let's say you're a girl and you got some, really good looking, 6 foot tall, I don't know, solid 190 pounds boyfriend. Let me even make him 6'1". So you got a Chad 6'1" boyfriend, and then Brock Lesnar comes and starts hitting on you right in front of your boyfriend. Do you really want your Chad boyfriend to show hostile body language and get his face mashed, in that beautiful face that you love so much, mashed up? Because that's what's going to happen. So yeah, but anyway, so she goes on to say, male humans still have among the easiest animal kingdom. Well, I mean, yeah, Chad does. The rest of us certainly don't. I think actually men are expected to do quite a lot compared to other animals. And certainly if you want to if you want to date one of the women on female dating strategy, you'd have to do a hell of a lot. Yet they are still constantly complaining about the average woman asks too much of them, even when all she wants is them to pay on dates. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. You're getting into kind of red pill MGTOW stuff here. I don't really have anything to say about that, so I don't really think it's a big deal about who pays. I guess like, I mean, I've never actually been on a. Well, that's not true. I guess I have kind of been on a date, and we just split. We've any dates, for lack of a better term, that I've been on, we just split, and I don't think it was a problem. I mean, none of the girls I was with ever complained. So whatever. I'm just going to steal insults from the red pill and start calling them low testosterone soy boys. Well, that probably is a pretty fair description of most red pillars, so I can't argue with her there. But anyway, I'm sorry that this was rambling because there's a light. This is just sort of it's a hard subject to talk about because they jump around so much. But food for thought, and I'll see you in the next.